to Orchard Park tonight if anybody wants to go after. Can I fill in any more?
Come on, Neil, let's jump back in.
If you want to do a history tour on the Buffalo River, I can accommodate that too. I'm running out of stuff, Neil.
Keep going. Remember when I said be brief?
Yeah.
I was having a little issue to get that start going, which I don't think anybody really watches the webcast anyway, but we like to do them just in case somebody needs to go back.
Cool.
Yeah, all right, good job, Dave. I didn't hear a word you said.
You probably
if you want to recap.
That's awesome.
That happens all the time anyway.
So yeah, we'll just start and we take 30 to 60 seconds to talk about kind of why you decided to come here, what you are doing, and maybe we should start with somebody who's been here before. Steve, you want to go first?
Sure.
All right.
Hi, my name's Steve Harber. I sort of have two hats. I'm a golf professional, so I've been teaching golf for 25 years, and I'm also associated with a company called Exacta, which is they have raw, organic, vegan-friendly products. And just really quickly, what brought me to them was about 3 years ago. I had fallen off my garage. I had brain fog, high cholesterol, high blood pressure. I was 25 pounds higher. I was going to the chiropractor twice a month. 3 years later, it's all gone. So that's why I'm fairly committed to it. It's basically a whole food you eat and makes you feel better. So the reason I come here is it's just nice to mix with small business owners, and share ideas, contacts, things like that. Thank you.
Cool. Scott,
I'm Scott Penton, Scott Penton on Twitter. I'm a social media manager. I'll manage your businesses, social media properties, posts, comments, stuff like that. I also run startbuffalo.com, which is basically a site to promote entrepreneurs, business owners, startups, existing businesses as well, with news, tips, as well as interviews. I'll basically send you, if you want, interview questions, and then I'll post those questions and answers as a post, and then include a link to your site, basically to help with SEO, stuff like that. And I'm also I'm trying to get going is anybody a veteran here? Oh, it's a great veteran. Okay, I'm trying to get Meetup going for veteran business owners as well as veterans who are unemployed, to get like a Meetup going and kind of help either get new clients or find jobs, whichever the case is. I'm just starting that off right now.
Me again.
sure.
Actually, Scott and I are looking at restarting a thing called Open Coffee, which is a open coffee time for tech people, I guess. Tech people just go in and talk about kind of the projects they're working on and stuff. So we're talking about getting that going. So I'm David Field, and I own a company called Kaleidoscope Computer Services. We do home and business IT support at the customer's site, rather than having the customer come to us and be without their stuff for however long it takes. I go to them and take care of their stuff at their location. I'm also a passionate networker. I love connecting people, and I do probably more of it than I should actually, but that's what I do.
Oh, we're gonna put the brakes on you for a moment because Mark's gonna have to leave, so we're gonna let him go.
Sorry about that. My name is Mark Price. I started Buffalo Aerial Pictures. I have a quadcopter that can take any kind of aerial pictures just about anywhere, from any kind of angle, height. I do for weddings, realty. Can do some pictures of your business or your house, put it on canvas or print acrylic, anything that you could think of. Then I just have some examples of some of my shots on my Kindle. You can just pass it around if people want to take a look at it.
Free Kindle.
Yeah, free Kindle, go ahead. Just fight amongst yourselves. Mark Price, Buffalo Area Pictures.
All right, cool. We'll go back.
Okay.
My name is Paul Greiner. I'm a program leader and a consultant with ALS Consulting, and I work with entrepreneurs, teams, and nonprofits to elevate their performance in the areas that are actually critical to what they're committed to. And as my own little announcement here, right here in this space on August 12th, which is a Tuesday at 7 p.m., we're going to be doing what's called the Unstuck Workshop. So it's 3 hours, it's $20, there will be some light refreshments available as well. And if there's an area, especially relative to business development or overall productivity, where there's something where your results isn't quite where you want your results to be, then I promise you will get at the very least some new insight into what's in the way and what's stopping you and what you can do out of being there for those 3 hours. So that's August 12th. I think you'll have a link in the email that goes out.
Yes, we'll have a link in the email. That's going to be right here.
Was that?
So easy.
7 p.m., 7 to 10.
Oh, no, I'll look at it.
Well, you should stand up and introduce.
Oh, all right.
Yeah, you got it up.
It's your 60
I'm up. 67, yeah. Sorry I'm late, by the way. I was walking up and down Delaware, probably looked ridiculous for like 20 minutes, and then I'm like, I'm just going to drive down Allen, then I saw the door, and I'm like, all right.
Did you call me? My phone
did.
was buzzing in my pocket.
So just ignore the message if I can't find it, you know. Anyway, no, I'm sorry. I should have just driven down the street. Anyway, my name is Elizabeth Lavis. I work with 360 PSG. We're a website development company. We've been around for about 8 years, and we work with large companies, we work with mid-sized companies, we work with small companies, and what really sets us apart is that we're sort of a good intermediary, if you will, between an out-of-the-box solution like a Squarespace or something that you can get right offline, and an agency solution. So we help you out, you own your website, you can update it with as much content as you want, it's fully responsive, gorgeous, and there's a support network there, so you can call us if you need something, which makes us a pretty ideal solution for a lot of small businesses. And I have cards. Thank you.
Good evening. My name's Adam Keller, and I'm a real estate agent with Hunt Real Estate. I work with buyers, sellers, investors, commercial real estate. Typically, my niche market is millennials. I work out of the Elmwood Village primarily. I was born and raised in the Elmwood Village. I've watched it grow and change a lot over the past couple of decades. What else? Hunt is a real estate company, a mortgage company, a titling company, and an insurance company. So we can pretty much do anything and everything. Adam Keller, Hunt Real Estate.
Hi, I'm Andrea Peruta. I'm a licensed mental health counselor, and what I will need to do is to start a private practice. My niche will be working with attorneys to get their clients ready for their court appearance, whether it's trial or in family court, by doing stress management, anger management, and behavior modification. So I came tonight looking to network for a referral base, and if anybody has any leads on office space, office sharing, that would be wonderful. Thanks.
I'm Alex Barganier. I'm a software project manager and QA engineer. I work for a web development company, and I'm here because my colleagues and I are interested in kind of starting our own thing and working on projects where the requirements and specifications are defined by us instead of by others, which is what consulting is. So we're here just to get an idea of, or get some new insight on maybe what that takes, and network with some new people, and just be a sponge and learn as much as we can.
My name is Ryan Griffin. I do user interface and experience design for web and mobile applications. Like Alex mentioned, I work with him. We're just looking to see what's out there and learn a little bit more, taking in all of your guys' knowledge and stuff. Pretty new stuff. We have some things in the pipeline right now we're working on. Just trying to get started up ourselves, work for ourselves, do some stuff like that.
Cool.
I'm Corey. I'm a senior software developer at a local web company. I work with these two guys. I own my own company called GrowBit. I do mobile games and apps I've been doing that for about a year and a half. And I'm now transitioning with them, working on the side to build their own mobile apps, mobile games, console games, whatsoever. So we're just like trying to experience what's in the neighborhood right now, downtown Buffalo, what's in the area, to network and learn what we can. We're still pretty novice at everything, so that's it.
Adrian Angelina. I work for Verizon. I've been doing telecom for about 23 years now. Everything from hardwired cell phones back when they were put in the middle of your console. I started doing that. Doing call centers for independent health, running that whole IT part of telecom. And then transitioning to Verizon, which is gotten kind of stiff. It's definitely an employee mindset where you got to keep blinders on, and this just doesn't fit my personality. Also. Last year, I've been working something completely different, which isn't what I've been doing for pretty much my whole career, is wellness, fitness and wellness. So I thought it'd be a good idea to come here and see how other businesses interact, build, grow, and serve.
Hey everybody, I'm Keith Wesolowski and I'm an attorney. I work with businesses and their owners throughout the business life cycle, from startup through their commercial transactions, ultimately to succession planning and exit strategies. What I typically find is that there are a lot of people that are out there who are very passionate about a particular thing or their business, but they don't necessarily know the ins and outs of what it takes to actually run that business. And that's where I tackle legal issues so that they can focus on their core passion. Great introductions for me are those people with the entrepreneurial spirit that are looking to make something, looking to grow a business, but perhaps don't know exactly how to get geared up the right way. So I'm Keith Wesolowski and I'm the counsel for the entrepreneur.
Hello, I am Karen Sully and I am a connector as well as a web developer, and I help small, medium-sized businesses who think that their audience is anyone and everyone. It's more about finding a niche market, and I help people connect with their audiences, and I've been doing web design and graphic design about 15 years, and so I tend to use the web and social media to do that. I believe that your website is an investment, not just something that you need, so I tend to focus on return on investment, and I have certain metrics and things that I put in place and do free assessments to see if you're meeting your audience and what you can do to do that. So again, I'm a connector and I use the web, and I do have a focus on making things look pretty, so I'm not your template cookie cutter websites. I do a lot of custom design. And Karen Sully, K Dynamics.
I'm last. Name's Randy Zimmer. Being a Z, I'm used to being the last one, so I fill this list very well. I'm a retired racing car driver. I drove for 35 years road racing and rallies, and I make racing car parts with my little robot in the basement. So although I should have an accountant and a lawyer and other people, I'm used to doing everything by myself. And I prefer to, even though I'm maybe creppy at it, but it's nice to get out and see some people outside of my basement and talk to the robot. So one way or the other, it's a good thing to come here.
I'll go find it. You can. Dave's taking over. I'm going to find the lost soul outside.
Okay, so I already made all my announcements.
I think we want to conduct the group.
Sportsman's Tavern. What's that?
Sportsman's Tavern?
Sportsman's Tavern.
What time?
5:30.
What day?
Friday. Okay, so what we do here, for those of you that are new, is this is a little bit like a round table. Typically, somebody will talk about some issue they're having or ask a question that deals with what they're dealing with at the moment, and then people that have some information on that or have been through it before will just sort of talk about. It's real informal. And sometimes Neil has some stock questions, and he left, so does anybody have any issues that they want to talk about, or whatever? It's interesting to me that a former race car driver drives a smart car.
Keep my license.
I drive a smart car too. So
What's the max speed on those, like 55?
I don't know. I've had mine going 95, so they're not very stable at 95, but
Keeps you awake.
especially in the winter. But yeah.
It's interesting, I read that, what is it, like 5 or 7 years, we won't be driving cars, it'll be like self-driving cars, and then in another 15 years, it'll be thought so archaic that we actually let people drive a car. It was amazing. It was this great article on Inc. I can't remember, it was a couple weeks ago that I read it, but it was so cool. It was like, in a year, your phone's going to be able to map the human genome, all this other stuff. So.
Yeah.
And I believe is when Skynet takes over.
The machines turn
And then
on.
the machines turn on us,
Yeah.
and then becomes a Matrix, and
Well, there's a lot of tech people.
saves the world, right?
There's a lot of
Is that
tech people in
how
the
it goes down?
room.
Google's self-driving car has only ever been in one accident, and that accident was because a guy was driving it and not the computer.
Yeah. Huh.
So, and it has a lot of hours on it,
Yeah.
tens of thousands of miles on the odometer, but
So anybody have any issues they're dealing with, any questions they want to ask? A couple of you are new in business, and
yeah, I'm sure.
What'd you talk about?
Self-driving cars.
I just, I was just,
All right, Dave's not done this before, right? No.
well, no, I was just kind of explaining the format a little bit, and then yeah, so these guys have a question, so.
Right.
Okay,
So,
so
like, a lot of us, like,
go ahead.
a lot of us, like, we work at companies, we have aspirations of doing your own business. You have to deal with where you're working currently, your non-compete clauses, and all that legal kind of, like in your court. It's all in your court.
Yeah,
All that non-compete stuff, and the whole, like, non-internal recruiting, invention stuff kind of thing. So, well, like, if anyone has dealt with that, how do you deal with it? How do you go about it? How do you skirt that kind of clause?
Yeah.
Any kind of.
You guys have
We are
registered
pretty
with
safe.
PSG.
Yeah, I'm thinking, no, teasing, there you go.
We work at one of your
Small.
competitors. but
We're
we
like
like-
competitors.
We work, yeah, we're your competitors, but we like to remain anonymous.
Oh, okay.
Mainly because of all the talk about
Maybe,
the
I don't know, I mean,
stuff.
we'll have to have a couple cocktails after this, and then you can give me some. I'm teasing, I'm teasing.
Wait, cocktails after this?
No, we're not.
Who would do that?
Well, Keith, do you have any thoughts on that? He's our resident lawyer.
So, I mean, as a general matter, and not rendering legal advice, just for a disclaimer.
That's how you can tell he's a lawyer.
We already got the blame on us.
A non-compete clause is generally enforceable so long as it is reasonable. And that means that it's got to be narrowly tailored and it can't deprive you of a living. So if Neil's one of my employees, I can't have him sign a non-compete that says that for 10 years he won't go to anybody who at all does business in Buffalo, because that would deprive his ability to earn a living in the place he lives. Most non-competes you see tend to be 1 year, 2 years in terms of time frame. You often see them have some sort of geographic radius, and now that's probably a holdover from the old brick and mortar days. So they're out there, and it's one of those things of the more tenacious they are about saying what you can't do, the more likely a court would toss it out. Having said all of that, the other thing that I would suggest to you, kind of on the side, is, well, what is really going to prompt somebody from to enforce a non-compete clause. If you go to a competitor and you try to march half their clientele out the door, you're darn right they're going to hit you with some sort of lawsuit because you're a direct threat to their business and you're costing them money. If it's one of those things where you're kind of working out of your garage and have your own thing that doesn't necessarily threaten that old business that you used to work for, well, from your old employer's perspective, there may not be a business case to bring a lawsuit. So you kind of have to look at what the circumstances are from a holistic perspective, and are you going to be doing the kinds of things that are going to cost that company so much or cause so much trouble that they're going to have to take some action against you? Or is it the type of thing where you can probably walk away and just sort of, we've moved on, like a little more than a bad breakup with a girlfriend that didn't work out. So that's very broad overview.
Yeah.
I mean, like I know that when you actually start looking at it, you get into that particular clause, and it'll usually say, thou shalt not work for any other company in this particular field. And if it's IT, it might be other IT providers, it might be other software companies, it might be, and you really have to get into the guts of what that particular contract says. It's a matter of contract, and if it's a reasonable thing, and where two consenting adults could come to an agreement on it, then a court may well enforce it. So.
Well, yeah, it sounds like it's like any other legal matter. You have to kind of you have to be a big enough problem for them to actually, so do you plan on suing other clients?
No.
It's not even, it's
plan on
completely
working
different fields.
Yeah, we plan on working in tech, but it's the same of saying that
Right.
Ford is, competing with Boeing because they're making cars and they have engines, and airplanes have engines too.
That sounds like it
Yeah.
wouldn't be very enforceable. Though.
But
if somebody walks out of Ford to join Boeing, and they're not, Boeing isn't launching a new type of pickup truck, as part of this move, then Ford is usually going to let them walk. That's not going to be a big deal. Now, if Ford goes to Chevy, and with the plans for the new F-150, and the plans to the Death Star,
That's a little more than
that's a
I think there's an ethical.
Well, if I work at Ford and I invent Boeing in my spare time, and I go on Boeing, which is essentially where we are, right?
Well, our
We are creating
main difficulty and obstacle has to deal with the fact that the non-compete talks about not starting a new company using the existing employees from the old company. Case in point, us three colleagues.
Or recruiting.
Yeah, this is recruiting.
Recruiting, I suppose, is the term.
But if all three of you got together and said, let's start a company,
Yeah.
that's different than one of you going to the other two and saying, hey, I'm starting a company, you want to come work for me?
That's the way I saw it. Is if I'm not even happy with the place I work at and I want to leave, just because I'm leaving to work with some other people that feel the same way. It's not like we're recruiting each other. We all have mutual feelings that we don't want to work for that company anymore.
Sure. And whether you went here, there, or anywhere, you wouldn't want to be there anyway, where you're at.
Yeah, exactly. It's
Tricky.
It's tricky. It's the biggest problem for the guy that's going to have the biggest problem will be the one that's recruiting people away. Again, if it's one of those things of if Ford thinks that its business is going to be threatened by Boeing getting launched, then you can expect that Ford will take an issue with it. if it's one of those things where Ford is a very large company and, or, you know, I hate to say it, but looks at people as being fungible and replaceable, then, you know, they're not going to take that big of a, look at it as that big of a deal.
You say fungible?
I said fungible, yes.
Now I just woke up, all right.
Is the company in question like particularly litigious? Like, do they get into legal fights with people?
No,
That would be another
they
thing
always,
I would,
they always have that trump card to throw you.
yeah.
Just
There's
in case.
also a pretty brutal Invention Act that we all naively signed. Everything we do
You guys should
inside
talk
of
to
work
Keith after the meeting.
and outside of work
Bring your
belongs
checkbook.
to where we work.
Yeah, those proprietary things.
Hey, Keith, I got a good referral for you.
About, yeah.
You three guys.
Yeah, you're screwed.
And the other thing I might suggest is if you want to get into a more like tech-based setting where people have probably dealt with this exact thing, is startup grind next.
Yeah,
Wednesday.
we're going next week.
Because there will be a lot of people in the room that probably could better speak to your like very specific situation.
But yeah, that's what's on our plate. We're trying to be super careful in the meantime and take it one step at a time.
What are you thinking about jumping into just starting it out? I mean, is there time for it?
Not anytime soon, honestly. I mean, it needs to be carefully planned, and
Yeah.
it sounds like we
I
have
was-
some hurdles to jump through. So
I was not part of tech, but I worked at Rich Products, and a bunch of us formed a startup company in the food service industry, and we left, and we all worked on weekends and outside of hours, and we were all from different departments, and we had it on the download for a really long time. Then one of us quit, and then the next guy quit, and then we didn't launch until like we planned our launch far off after our quit dates, just so it didn't look like we quit that week and went to week work over there. So
Yeah.
I mean, definitely there's strategic time frame.
yeah, it would have to be a taper off of quitting, and
And
a
then we
long waiting
actually,
period before we go public. And
You should all quit the same day
Yeah.
and then open across the street.
Yeah.
Walk into the CEO's
I mean,
office,
it
give him the
sounds- it sounds
finger.
obvious, but and then we ended up getting Rich's back as a customer, I suppose.
Oh,
right
really?
on it, so, yeah.
Well, and
See,
that-
so it's gonna
that's
turn out
actually
fine.
yeah.
They'll be
Yeah,
your
you'll be
customer in like
fine.
weeks.
That's actually a really good point that Karen makes. Don't burn your bridges.
Yeah.
Because if you're staying in the same sort of industry, you know, you go and give the finger to the CEO on the day you leave. Well,
I would.
I'm not saying you would, but
Yeah, I get what
you
you
do
mean.
that, and then you know, in a year you might need that connection, and you lost it. So,
Or that you might need that job. Because while we're all optimistic here,
Yeah.
the stats tell you that
Yeah.
most of the businesses
Yeah.
are going to fail.
Yeah. So
No.
don't burn your bridges.
I know enough.
There's a little bit of
These guys are
sunshine.
Lone Rangers. You're a rock star.
I know a guy. I know a guy within the last month. He worked for Metro News, that company that does all those like small town newspapers.
Mhm.
He was a printer there, and Metro got sold, and he got laid off. He started his own print shop. He kind of already had it going anyway. He started his own print shop. I saw him last week. He told me he's doing more printing for Metro now than he ever did when he actually worked for it. So if he had burned his bridge, then you know that's a lot of business that he would have got. So.
All right.
Thanks.
You guys are satisfied?
Yeah, we'll pass the whatever to pass the torch.
Does anybody else have any other questions? Anybody come with anything specific? Otherwise, we'll just go back to yours. No? All right. Well, then I guess I didn't really prepare very well today. But,
And here I told him when you were out that we're always prepared.
yes,
Backup.
always
Backup
is
questions.
inaccurate. Almost always. It's probably better. Well, we had a new person.
Hi.
Do you want to introduce yourself?
Hi, sorry I'm late. I'm a new graduate student. My name is T, and I want to start my own business, and my father will be an investor. And I'm at the same time also seeking full-time employment. I'm an accounting student.
What's your business? What's the field or product?
I'm actually thinking about investing in a hotel in North Dakota. It's because in North Dakota, there's a shortage of hotel, and the hotel, like 95% of the hotel in that area are just taken, and it's hard to book a hotel in the future 5 or 7 days. You guys can search on Priceline or Expedia or something. Yeah, so that's.
How did you come up with that research? Out of curiosity.
Yeah, well, actually, it's a lot, and it needs a lot of investor, and because I know the workforce city in the North Dakota, and because I want to travel there, I like travel, and I found it's really hard to book a hotel there, and the price is really high. Yeah.
Yeah, nice. All right, so from experience.
And I have an executive summary if any of you interested.
Sure.
Yeah.
All right. That's pretty
Yes,
great.
I don't know.
Yeah. Nice, well done.
I've been in business for 9 years, and I don't know what it was.
Yeah, well.
That explains some things.
Yeah. Well, I guess I'll bring up kind of a best practices type thing then. Anyway, in my industry, and it might apply to some others, but what does everyone do in terms of like kind of project management or like keeping? I've found that as I've, I guess, gotten busier, I have I don't know, a dozen projects going at the same time, and so like keeping that all together and kind of progressing forward without like you know, dropping the ball on things is always a challenge, which I used to just kind of like keep in my head, and then I started using Google calendars a little more to try and like kind of put things on a task list or on a timeline. But now we use Trello. Does anybody know that?
What's your basic challenges with project management, with managing the actual project?
It's come in more since over the last couple of years when I've used freelancers. I feel like, I think largely I would wait too long to like get them involved, right? Because you got to give them a long enough timeline so they can fit it into their schedule. That was a big part of it, and then projects would just kind of fall off the grid, right? If it wasn't a high priority project, it would just go.
Mm-hmm.
So I've started putting things in very date oriented, and through Trello is what I started.
Have you ever used Basecamp?
I have, and I like Basecamp, but Trello's free.
Yeah, it's free, but I think Basecamp's a better platform.
Yeah.
I
like Basecamp, but it seems like overkill for what I'm trying to accomplish, like almost simple scheduling and stuff.
Do any of you guys know about Chili? My programmer just told me today
Chili.
to use Chili.
With or without being.
It's Chili app for project management, and you told me I need it. I don't know.
But does anybody else, Chili
I don't know
would
what
be.
it is, but you know, I'm having a hard time tracking resources and projects and time and mileage, and he said that this would help me. And Basecamp is good for interacting with customers, from what I understand.
Yeah.
You can set up preview areas.
Yeah, because once you go in and you change something, like you can set up for $20, you can set up like 5 projects. For $50 a month, it's like up to 10 projects, and it goes up that way. And then you can add on, like if you need a Gantt chart, you can add that into your. So you can really kind of build your own software package instead of going with like Microsoft, which is a massive package that you don't have shipments coming in from overseas. You don't really have to worry about it too much with vendors or like contracting work. But when you change something in on a project, it sends an email to whoever is collaborating on the project, and you can give them administrative controls as well on each project, or just have them be able to view it and see what's going on. So they can either participate, or you can block them and give them a level of authority on the project. But everything that you do, it sends them an email, so they know that something has changed or has been added, and then they can go in and take a look at it, and the same thing. So if they go in and do something, it'll shoot you an email as well. I used it when I was with Colorado State University as their product manager. We were launching a lot of marketing campaigns, and we had a lot of different vendors, and it was just it's just very simple to use. It looks like pieces of paper on a desktop that you're just kind of shuffling around. So I found it to be a lot easier for people like myself who really aren't that tech savvy, instead of using a massive project management software that's going to cost $2,000-$3,000.
It's definitely a much better solution for smaller firms than, like, I remember at an ad agency I worked at, it was a while ago, 10 years ago, I guess now. They implemented this project management software that was like such a chore to learn that like nobody wanted to use it, right?
Yeah, and I heard that there was some people from Basecamp that jumped and they started their own called Free Camp.
Free Camp?
And it's free. So
there you go.
take a look at it. I think it's free.
Yeah, well, I've had a lot of success with the Zoho.
Zoho does one. I mean, they do a few different things. They do CRM and stuff like that. But they have, and it's leveled, you know, where you get a simple version for free, and then for the whole freemium thing, basically. But it seems like there's a lot of them. I personally, I think we talked about this the other day, but until you get to a certain level of complexity with the project, and really, I think in your situation, what you're talking about, really where you're managing other people,
I think that's where it comes
all of it, that's where it might make sense to add the layers. But, you know, I mean, some people end up trying to set that up and they're just like managing themselves, and great. So you have to put it in here, then it's going to send me an email, and I have to keep track of it. And I think just using a basic calendar based system works for that. But Trello, Zoho, I mean, they're all seem to be right in that same kind of level.
I use like a bunch of things. So we have our project management staff, but for me personally, because I do sales, so we use a software called Pipeline Deals, and essentially what that does is it tracks all the deals that I have going, like where are they, status notes and things, and it generates a task list for me that I can separate into different items. So if it's like a to-do, or we call them rocks, you know, if you do your rocks in the afternoon, it's like the big projects that you have to work on. So I use that, it keeps me on track, and it's cloud-based, so, you know, if I'm working from home, which sucks, but we all do it, right? I mean, I'm not alone here, right? So if you're working from home, you can get it there, you can get it on your phone. The other thing that I do, and this is really low-tech, but it works really well for me, is I color code my calendar. So I use a Google Calendar, and every morning I take care of like the 3 things that I'm dreading doing that are just going to be totally in my ass all day long. So I just take care of them right straight up in the morning, and then the rest of the day I just block off so it's color coded. So if someone calls me up and says, do you have space for an appointment, or can you get this in, I'll look at my calendar and I'll say, okay, yeah, I have some space here, or I've designated this time for appointments. And I find that ever since I started implementing that, my time doesn't get away from me. I'm really a lot more productive than I ever have been.
Excellent. That's, I guess it'll probably go up tomorrow, the latest, the 5-minute emails that do the 5 minutes of better marketing.
Yeah.
I was talking about that was something I did a few years ago that really made a huge difference, was just block off that time and like say, this is time for, well, in this case, marketing, but we can do it for anything.
And you don't let like other stuff intervene either. So if I have a block this
Right,
month,
you
I
don't
have
move
to
it.
do, like, it has to happen. So, I mean, the way that my job is, there's really, I'm not so integral to the running of the company in and of like, you know, making sure the software works, where I can't take 2 hours and focus on a task. Like, no email that is going to be sent to me needs to be checked right away. Like, if I get back to it in like 2 hours, so periodically I check my email, because I notice that that's where all my time goes. I'll screw around with emails all day, like, and nothing will get done. So I've just had to be really focused, and I'll check my email this time, you know, and be really diligent about it.
All right.
I
Yeah,
agree with that.
Yeah, that's a good. Tim Ferriss, I think, posted about that a couple weeks ago. Like the cost of switching tasks. You're working on one thing, and then they just stop and look at your email. Like you don't even think about the
Yeah, because you
changing
can't
gears
multitask. And I took that off my resume like 3 years ago when I read somewhere it's like humans can't multitask.
Yeah.
We suck at it, you know. You focus on one task.
Well, it's impossible.
It is impossible.
Not how the brain functions. It's a computer metaphor gone bad.
Actually, it's the positive side of ADD. I mean,
ADD is not really, but anyway.
Could be one of those.
Now we've gotten into a conversation.
Yeah.
Yeah, you haven't met my youngest son.
Well, Does that spark any other ideas for anybody? Any other questions that you might have about what you got going forward or anything?
I feel like your original concern though was that you had so many projects going on that the lower priority ones were getting kind of lost in the gray area.
That's true.
So these lower priority projects, you have people working for you on them?
No.
Or they're yours?
Yeah, that would probably be mine. Usually your lower priority when maybe you're not paying for something.
Yeah.
You know, fall into those types of spots. Yeah, that's right. I started this conversation.
So I mean, one thing that it happens in software is every morning, every project team meets and talks about what they did yesterday, what they're going to do today, and anything that's blocking them. If it's only you, then you obviously can't really have a meeting with yourself in your office. I mean, you're just hanging out there. But it may be beneficial to spend half an hour each morning just quickly running through all of your projects. If you have a list of 16, maybe some of those won't be that important to you, but you're going to have to get to them eventually.
Right.
So you should constantly be reprioritizing those projects because one may be at the bottom, but something new may occur to it, and now it may be number 12 instead of 16. So every day in the morning you should spend at least 30 minutes reprioritizing any tasks that you have to do, kind of just doing a quick status update, even if you just have to write it in a notebook. On every project you have, you need to keep the priority of what's next for that project in mind, and also the end date. Really.
Yeah. That's good advice, and I found that I've been doing that without like kind of planning on doing it, but since I started, doing setups through Trello and stuff, I find myself definitely setting more like kind of small goals, like something will go on the calendar will be like this needs to get done today or needs to get done by Thursday or whatever. And then you just kind of all be out there, and then maybe you remember, maybe you don't.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's I should make a point of actually doing it. I'll put it in my calendar.
Just a few minutes every day.
And we could all wish that it would take us 30 minutes to
Yeah. And that's the thing, it doesn't need to be too deep, but I mean, if you're managing a project, you should have a general idea of how many tasks you have remaining to project completion. So, I mean, that should fuel your priority too. If a project has a deadline of 2 months from now and you're way behind, which you should be able to quantify the tasks remaining, which if you're working by yourself and they're your projects and you have 16 of them, it's hard for you to do that if you're also doing the work itself. Like me as a project manager, I can spend almost all day, writing and keeping everything up to date and making sure everything's documented. But if you don't have that time, then it's a different story. It's a whole new challenge, I suppose.
And some people would say just get rid of all those ones that keep falling off the edge, the projects that keep getting lost.
Well, that's what you gotta determine, but I think you're totally right because there's a book, a time management book called Eat the Frog or Eat That Frog, I think it's called. I don't know if you've read it. It's really short. It's like really small. Basically, what it says is that things are gonna fall off your to-do list every day, so you have to prioritize and say which ones are the most important, and then look at it critically and say, if I'm making $10 on this project and it's costing me X amount of hours, I mean, nobody wants to fire a client, but realistically, what's it costing me in time and stress and whatever? So prioritizing that way, if it's urgent and important and moving forward is, it's critical.
I recommend not using a to-do list.
Not doing now or doing now list.
The world of the to-do list is the world that studies have shown gets you further and further behind, which leaves us in a place where you have to prioritize things. Things disappear, you don't fulfill on things, they're incomplete for you, you leave other expectations unmet. It doesn't work to not complete what you've committed to. So there's a way you can organize yourself where calendar-based, much like what you were saying about your calendar and what he was pointing to about still how you manage it. But the thing about if you're going to take an action, it takes time. Everything you do requires time. So if you have everything that you would have in a to-do list, once you break your project down into what the actions are required to fulfill it, you put those
in the calendar and then do them when they come up. That way nothing drops out. You know as you're putting it in, oh, the reality is I don't have time to do this, and then then you put it in a list in the world of I'm not doing this now, and maybe you check in every week or every month to see if you want to upgrade it. But that way you're not losing track of things, you're not building lists that I didn't get these 3 things done, I pushed this in tomorrow. The world, no matter how high powered you are, the world's to-do list is an ever expanding and overwhelm creating phenomenon. So all the priorities and colors and stuff, which makes sense to, if it works for you to visually perceive things and color code it. I did that for a long time. Now it's all the same color in my calendar, but I do what's in my calendar, and if I say I'm doing it, it goes into my calendar, and if it doesn't, it goes into my phone as a note, and every day before I'm done with business, that thing's clear. And it's either in my calendar or it's in things that I'm clearly saying, I'm not doing this now. And then I don't have anything to worry about, as long as I actually do what's in my calendar and honor my word. So that's my simple approach to it.
And it's also dictated by the to-do list builder. A lot of times, like to-do list is given to us. Like we are, inherent to what is in front of us.
Yeah.
So I mean, sometimes you're kind of forced to their hand, like here it is. This needs to be done within 8 weeks.
Good.
So we're kind of stuck doing their to-do list. So we have to deal with like what part of this bullshit, what can we do, what is not needed kind of thing.
Yeah, you still have some of the same things. If you take those items and plug those into the calendar immediately, it will tell you visually, very simply, you'll see, oh, now, I have to pull this off. This thing that was like a good idea that I wanted to work on, the secondary project, maybe it's not a paid one, however it is you work that out for yourself, you would pull it off. When you're in business for yourself and you're wearing all the hats, you would then communicate to the people that would be impacted that you're not doing it now. Let them know, I'm not doing this now, I've got this going on. Right? I mean, it's a pretty simple thing that, personally, my view is that we love complicated things. We've complicated, but if you keep it in that world of if I'm doing it, it's going into time. I may screw up the time frame, it may take longer, so on and so forth. There's still management to do, but eliminating the lists upon lists, let alone the post-it note systems and whatever system, of post-it notes / I don't have a list / whatever the worst versions are, but even to-do lists, because I think it was the Harvard Business Review did the study, and they tracked people for like 3 months, and on average 40%, and these were middle to high-level executives, 40% got done on a to-do list of that day's stuff. Right? So in the world where I've got appointments in my calendar, and then I've got this list, and I just try to fit it in, and I think, I can fit it in, only 40% of really effective people, they're only getting 40% done. And if you track it out, then that's 6 things left out of 10, let's say. So list of 10 every day, get 6 things left. 2 of them are too late, screwed it up, it's over. But let's say 4 things go to the next day. So I've got that thing's 10, now I got 14. If I try even harder, I get 5 things, I get 9 things left over. 2 drop, I'm adding 7 to the next day. The point is, the process doesn't get smaller. You end up with more stuff because you're not getting stuff done, because when you first lay it out, you're not related to the reality of what the time is in the day and how long things will take. It's a hope. A to-do list is, well, I'll get it through as much as I can and I hope it works out. And if you're in business or if you're in the world of systems, you wouldn't design a product that's based on hope. So I don't recommend designing your business based on hope either.
I agree with the caveat though, and my caveat is this: I have 2 colors in my calendar, purple and blue. And blue means these are rocks, these are projects I have to work on. Purple is like active engagement with clients. So I can look at my day and I can say, okay, well I have a staff meeting from here to here, I have this blah blah blah. Within those purple and within those blue blocks, I do have certain items that I want to accomplish. So say I want to make a bunch of calls, right? I'll list out the calls I want to make, so I can just go through them. But I agree with you fundamentally that if you don't have that time blocked out, and for me it's helpful to see how much, we call it pay time, no pay time, is it a certain amount of time, then it'll just go away. So
Yeah.
you hold yourself more accountable. For me, I use kind of a little column A, a little column B.
Yeah, well, and that makes sense. My experience with training people with the system that we use is when you transition from list to a time-based system, to a calendar-based system, the first level of resistance, the first level of, oh, Jesus, well, I don't have time to do everything that I need to do, which is already the case. It's just that we avoid it. We avoid the experience of confronting, oh, I'm not actually going to get all this done. And so putting in the time will drive that up, but then you actually know, okay, so therefore, I'm not doing these things, and I can just say, I'm not doing these things.
It's really freeing to be
Yeah,
able to
it's
say,
like,
you know, this really isn't important. I mean, for my business model, is I look at it and I'm like, really, how critical is this to my success, and how is this going to propel my job and my company forward? And if it's not, why am I screwing around doing it? So it's actually a very cool kind of freeing experience to be able to knock things off and to say, okay, realistically, unless I'm going to work 80 hours a week, this is what I'm going to accomplish in this time period on these days.
Even if you're going to work 80 hours, you still only got 80.
I would recommend it. I think it's their crime.
So in the process of so in my day I have tasks that usually revolve around quality assurance, project management. Let's say those two things. If I classify the tasks that I need to do into project management and QA, would using a method of not really paying attention to that to-do list, but saying, okay, each day I'm going to devote 2 hours to QA.
Totally, yeah.
And then
exactly
whatever
right.
I get done in those 2 hours, I get done. Is that kind of
well,
in line?
that's where it starts. And then at the beginning of your day, when you know those lists, when you've been thrown the list that you're thrown, and then you already have your other lists, then you can get a little more specific. Like we talk about, like the 30 minutes at the beginning of your day.
Yeah.
I do it at the end of the day before, so that I can clear my head as well and just do what I'm doing. And the next day is laid out, and I've taken those maybe kind of general blocks, and then I've got inside of this block what that means is, and for me in my calendar, what comes up is it's actually got the accomplishment right there. So it's not just like do blah, 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 blah. It's like this specifically is done, this is done, this is done. So it's a specific done, starting and ending at a specific time. So you can use that 30-minute time for yourself to refine, here's what it looks like. Oh, then I got this call, I got to rearrange this, and then you just go.
And you can adjust the size too. So when you first start, you might say, okay, well, I need 2 hours of time at the beginning of my day for, is it Q&A?
Yeah.
Okay, so I need 2 hours of time at the beginning of my day, and then once you start to do it, you're like, well, I really actually need 2.5 hours, or I really only need an hour and a half. So once you start to go through these processes and see exactly how long you need, then your planning of your day is going to get better and better and better and more refined, because you'll know how long realistically things take to work.
Yeah,
And you
overestimate the beginning, don't underestimate, you're going to screw yourself.
A great way to figure out exactly if you're doing the same tasks every day too. Has anyone heard of I think I've talked to you about this before, the Pomodoro technique. They've got like a whole system set up around it, but the idea is that you work for 25 minutes and then you get like 5 minutes to just mess around kind of thing. So you're breaking up your work day into half-hour chunks. And there's a couple reasons for the 25-5, I guess. Part of the reason is like mentally, even if you're like really just like, I don't want to do anything today, really unmotivated, you can usually convince yourself like, it's just 25 minutes, right? So then you can like accomplish something, but then at the same time, by breaking up your day into those little chunks, you can like eventually learn how many Pomodoros it takes to do a specific task, and then go back to when you're setting up your calendar, you can like very specifically or like very accurately know that like this task typically takes, you don't have to call them Pomodoros, but 10 Pomodoros.
Yeah, I prefer that.
So Pomodoro, it's Italian for tomato. So like on the website, you get a pomodorotechnique.com probably, or look it up. They sell like little tomato 25-minute timers and all that kind of stuff. But I dabbled in that at one point, and it really helped with like some of the like really the like every week type tasks that were always the same that I was doing. I could put them right in the calendar based on how many hours it was. So.
And the planning is so critical too. I mean, whether it's at the beginning of your day or the end of your day, it's really, really, really important to do that, because otherwise, if you go in without a plan, without a calendar set, whatever, I mean, you might as well just go home. You're not going to get anything done. Especially for me, you're going to make calls and whatever. I need to know what they are, because otherwise I'm going to screw around and I'm not going to do it. It's going to take me 4 hours to do something that can be accomplished in 1 hour. So what I do every single week on Friday is take 2 hours and just plan my entire week for the following week. And then, things come up here and there, but for the most part, I know exactly what I'm doing, and that's just works so much better than stressing out and freaking out at the end of the day, being like, why haven't I made any calls, or why haven't I seen anybody, any people or written any proposals, because, I didn't have a plan.
Yeah, that's a real personality thing, because that wouldn't work for me at all.
No?
No.
You need
But
to.
my business is I go when my clients need me, so I can't, I can't really make a plan.
But I use a model week, so my mornings are structured. Every Monday is the same, every Tuesday is the same. Like Tuesdays I do my budgets, and it's structured kind of the way Paul talked about. But then in the beginning of the day, I still map out my needs, what absolutely needs to be done today, what is critical of being done today. That's a block, and then the second block is what is going to drive my business, what is actually going to drive revenue into my business. And then my third is what do I want to do? So that could be grocery shopping, could be going for a run, whatever. Now that third column is generally falls off. But if it does, I know my business isn't hurt by it. It's just I may have to.
You just don't eat, you get out of shape, and the rest of your life doesn't work, but.
Yeah, hey, but money's coming in. But if the other two blocks are done, then I know my business is, I know I'm staying on track, and then that's why I have the model week. But in my model week in the mornings, that's where I'll kind of fit in, get a workout or exercise or meditate or go
Good for
grocery
you, man.
shopping.
I can't ever do a workout in the morning. It's always that.
But it's
falls
scheduled
off.
the same way that they do. But I have to organize because, like Dave, I mean, I can have a client call me or text me
Then
at
you gotta
6:30 in
move.
the morning,
Yeah.
and my day, that's it. My day's
But
over.
I think the point is you have to do what works for you.
Yeah.
Because we're all different, we all have different personalities, we all have different businesses, we all have different demands. So, you can talk about kind of what you do and take the good and what works for you. But if you try to shoehorn yourself into like kind of what works for somebody else who might have a totally different personality, totally different business, then you're just going to be frustrated like your to-do list.
Yeah. That's a great point. And I mean, I run into that with my clients too, where it's like they can meet certain days or whatever. So in my afternoons, I have a period of time, blocked up available for appointments, but it's like that period of time.
Yeah.
So unless it's like a dire emergency or something, and I can move it around, it's just helpful. It puts me in a better position. Yeah. I agree with you completely. I think that all the ideas are good. It's just what's the best one for you.
There's a billion systems, and choose the one that you will actually work. And when you say what works for you, there's still, for me, there's this common thing under what works for me is that it still actually has to work.
Exactly.
And I'm not saying you're saying this, but in the world of what I hear, doing what I do, what works for me, well, this doesn't work for me. The problem is what they're doing doesn't work.
Yeah.
Period.
Yeah.
So the thing is, well, that's not going to work for me is, well, you got no frame of reference because what you're doing isn't working, you're not producing the results, you're not, whatever that is.
Mm-hmm.
So in a place of unworkability, I've got to be willing to actually try on, whether it's any number of things we've talked about or any number of software programs, I've got to find something that will actually work. Like things are complete, things are the way that they're designed to be. And until I've actually gotten that for myself, then that's just really doesn't, it's not a blend with me where we shoot down options before we try it because it sounds like it might be not on our wavelength. Like get it working. I'm big on workability though. Some people aren't.
Results matter,
Yeah.
right? And if you have a system that doesn't you're not getting results, then
Yeah.
it's,
Within the rest of
it does have to work.
All right.
That's great.
We are past 7 o'clock, so
Oh.
if you two want to, go at it after.
Oh, yeah, big time, big time.
But we
That doesn't
we
work
try
out.
to end close the time so that people have somewhere to go or whatever. But feel free to stick around. Well, the pizza was brought to you by Dave Field. Did you say that?
Actually, it was by Classical Computer Services.
Okay.
I
That's
took it
fun.
as
Okay. But there was still some pizza and
Carrots.
probably, there's carrots. Doesn't look like people ate as many carrots as pizza. I'm not sure what that's about. But yeah, feel free to stick around and we'll still be here. It's just maybe a round table discussion type thing. All right, and I did want to say the next Microbusiness Meetup, which will either be here, we did the last one at Dig, it could be there again, I don't know, it depends. What happens there is on August 27th at 5:30, so it's a similar format and everything, and all right.
Friday
Thanks.
night, Sportsman's Tavern.
Oh yeah, Friday night, Sportsman's
Friday night, Sportsman's Tavern.
I definitely want to get in touch with you.
That's
That's the
nice
veteran thing that
to
you
meet you.